Hey, how you doing? So, standing in front of a whiteboard, very simple, on body connects posture and mind. You probably can't read that. But what we just want to have a quick little chat about is the great effects of what posture has, especially for you in your workplace. Now, you might be sitting in your office chair. Now, have a little think about it. How often have you actually sat there and realized after quite some time that you're actually staring at other people's faces or just looking at the computer, possibly just fiddling with something, and how long has it actually taken for you to realize that you're doing that instead of your work? Yes, we're losing productivity. Yes, we're losing awareness, and that's really not what we're wanting, is it? So one of the main things is that we need to be a little bit more aware of, are we fatiguing? Now, fatiguing means that we could be sitting on our chair for a length of time, whether we're too comfortable or uncomfortable, but what it usually comes from is it could be a physical fatigue of you sitting on your office chair, and what it's actually doing is it's kind of putting you in a position, forcing your postural muscles to overwork and fatigue. Now, that's their job, is to actually hold them up. To hold you up. Now, when they fatigue, other muscles come into play, and they fatigue really quickly because they're not actually made for that. So really, that's one of the quickest reasons why we fatigue in the office. So you don't have to worry, there's really nothing wrong with you, other than it's probably a good idea to start creating or start doing some exercises where you're sitting in a chair. What we do need to be a little more aware of is a lot of our office chairs, even the ergos, also the stand-up desks, they certainly do fatigue our postural muscles because they place us in that way. Or if we're thinking about a stand-up desk, well, guess what? You're sitting there and you might be working, and then suddenly you drop one leg because it's tired, and you lean on that leg, and then you change and you lean on that leg, and then you're leaning on that arm. Does that make any sense to you? Because generally that's what happens. And every time that you actually start leaning on one side, you are losing your posture, because basically posture is for you to stand in the right strength of frame. Yeah, being in one angle or hanging on the other side, that's going to quickly fatigue other muscles. And again, fatigued muscles also create a fatigued mind. That's why we start walking, our mind starts wandering in other places other than fulfilling the tasks that you're trying to fulfill. So with that, let's just put in your head that a fatigued body creates a fatigued mind. Okay, a sense of awareness. Now this is really cool. So here's you, here's your head, and here's you sitting down with your legs. Okay, now being aware that you're actually sitting here and holding and typing away on the desk here, that's all cool. But when you actually start head slumping over, that's when you start fatiguing. And being aware of whether you're in this position or that position is a really quick way to gaining a good, healthier posture. But the more that we practice this position here, this is what actually creates the problem of getting sleepy, having a fatigued mind, creating some health issues within the internals. Just a quick little thought, when you're actually squeezing or your neck is sitting there on an angle like so, what happens is, have a look at your skin when either your skin or your stomach, it kind of bulges out a little bit. That means that we're actually squeezing onto our organs or creating less space as such. Even so, we're also slowing down our digestive tracts. Now just think about it, if you want to lose weight, this isn't the position that you want to be holding. You do want to be sitting more of an upright pose, right? Now, being aware of yourself, being aware of the way you're standing, sitting, sleeping, well, that's a little hard, but just literally being aware of how you are or how you're feeling is a good way to get in touch with your own self-awareness. Now, self-awareness enables so many better things. Better confidence is one of them. But imagine imagine making better decisions, especially those rash ones. How many times have you actually been put into the position where you're forced to make a really quick decision? Well, I'm telling you now, you're never forced to make that quick decision unless it's an action, maybe driving or something. But if somebody's asked to make you a question or asked you a question and you want to answer it, you always got a second to just sit there, take a big breath, feel yourself, and then come up with an answer from you and the way you feel about you. Because that's always going to be a better decision. It's a decision made from you for yourself. That's being a little bit more self-aware. Now, what I like to do is if I have some time, or even before that I, say for example, have this little talk, I'll stand or sit, and what I'll do is I'll lift up my spine nice and tall. Not this, but just lift up nice and tall and take a big breath in through my spinal column and basically just breathe out. And that puts me into a place where I'm quite aware of how I'm feeling. And basically, if I'm feeling good, I'm going to make a better decision. If I'm feeling quite negative and I'm slumping over, have a guess what sort of decision you're going to make. Probably not the right one. Now just think about when you're sitting in your desk, if you're either an employer or an employee, imagine people having a look at you and what their judgmental minds are thinking, or they're just assuming that you're not feeling up to it. Now if you're doing that all the time, guess who's not going to get those cushy or all those good little jobs that you want to be able to do, because you don't look like you can actually handle them. So sit up tall, take that breath, feel yourself, feel how strong that you can feel, and be present in that moment, and you will be able to make better decisions. And you practice that and you'll become a much more self-aware of what you can do and what your capabilities are. Now that might sound a little soft to you, but guess what? That's what it's all about. It's actually about you centering your focus within yourself, and that is being soft. Because if you're going to rush that and do that whole rah way of thinking 1,000 miles an hour or 1,000,000 miles an hour, you start to lose yourself and you lose your self-awareness, and you actually start losing what your real capabilities are. I mean, have a think about how many times have you done things that you know you weren't ready to do, or you've signed up for something and thought, oh my God, I can't fulfill this, or even on the other side of the spectrum, you haven't wanted to try and better yourself because you don't believe in it. Yeah, but hold yourself, be nice and steady, nice and straight, take a moment to feel yourself, and then make a better decision about what it is that you're going to do or want to do. Now, I find in the business, let's say my business, I find that I'm continually needing to upskill myself, and that's really cool because I'm wanting to work with OnBody, and I want you guys to understand what posture is all about, right? Now, I might just think for a stage, okay, of course you're going to know. Well, you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't, but it's more about me needing to realize or needing to teach myself, how am I going to make that impact on you to want to decide to look after yourself or look after your posture? Yeah, because that's really important. Otherwise, I'll lose your attention in 2 seconds. And that doesn't mean you can turn off now either. So when you're actually learning more about yourself, becoming more self-aware, it's not dissimilar to a state of mind. Now, state of mind, let's just have a think about, there's a factor that you have at least, or you make at least on average 35,000 choices a day. Now think about every one of those choices. They all have an impact either on yourself or somebody else. Now let's have a think about every time that you make that impact on yourself or somebody else, if they were coming from a negative point of view, a negative state of mind on your own behalf, what sort of decisions are you making for everybody, and what is going to be the outcome? Obviously not as clear and not as good as the ones that you would be hoping. So you kind of want to be really clear of your state of mind and rather than focusing on any sort of negativity, because we all have negative thoughts, try and focus on, or even create, if you get a negative thought, just acknowledge it, thanks, and then just create the thought that you really want to do. And look, there's an actual fact that if you're slumping, whether you're sitting down or standing like this, that basically enables you to bring back more negative thoughts and memories. And even worse, it makes it harder for you to believe in a positive thought or what you're hearing to be a positive and reality. So, interesting facts, but that just means to you that you really need to start focusing more on positive thoughts, positive memories, and just working on how to create things more positive, because you will upskill yourself to have a greater state of mind. Try picturing yourself upskilling to something that you actually don't believe that you could do. Excuse me. And think of that as something from a negative way, that there's no way you could do the things that you dream of, or become something that you want to do, or hold a position, in the office or anything. And just believe it, that there's no way in the world that you're capable of doing it. So guess what the outcome's going to be? 99% of the time, I reckon you wouldn't even make it halfway or a quarter of the way, or probably not even give it a try. Yeah. Now that's what happens when we start thinking negative, because the worst part is a negative thought has the capabilities of actually taking over every single positive thought in your mind. That means you might want to accomplish all of this, yeah, but this tiny little thought out here, this tiny little thing here, can take over and just be the God rule of say over everything. Because once you believe in that negative thought, that's it. It's taken over. And that is what comes back from you, from having that poor posture. So like I said, when you sit or you stand with a poor posture, you lose your awareness. You become less aware of your actions, but you also become less aware of this little negative thought telling you that it's more important than everything else, and you will believe that. In a high chance you will believe that. So you really need to do stand up straight or sit up straight as best as you can. And yes, there's a lot of, it is very hard to start and to continue doing, but the more exercises and the more sort of self-training you can do with that, it does become easier, I promise you. And then you just move forward. So we'll set up a scenario, we kind of brushed on it a little earlier, that if you're sitting down and you're taking on the task, or if you're standing up and you're about to participate in some sort of action, have a think about if you're actually in that slumping position. Do you look like you're going to fulfill that task? Do you look like you look self-confident and that you're able to take on the world? No way. Absolutely no way. Having a quick little think about, and this is not a nice thing, that back in the school, when your kids or anyone was slumping, were most likely the ones that were being picked on, because they make an easier targets for those people, for the bullies. But that's the whole thing of when you are slumping or slouching, people just don't think or just assume that you're not even confident, and that creates a few problems, because they're not really wanting to get so involved, other than unless you want them to feel sorry for you, and I'm sure you don't want that. So let's look at self-confidence. So standing up tall, sitting up tall. introducing yourself, being that person to walk in the room and go up to people that you don't even know and say hi. Yes, that is self-confidence, and there's no way you're going to do that if you're looking down because you can't even make eye contact, right? Okay, but again, standing up and standing in the proper posture enables you to believe in yourself that you can do more things than when you're slouching, okay? That's a really important point. So if you're standing or you're sitting, I know I've said it a number of times, and this is what everything that I preach is all about. It's about you trying to sit and stand in your best posture, which is trying to be tall, and get rid of that head slump, because seriously, it makes a big difference to your thoughts of your state of mind. Imagine some speaker trying to make his presentation on stage, okay? We'll go through a couple of variances. One, he's going to be talking like this because his neck is dropped and is shortening the space in his vocal cords. Okay? Two, there goes the eye contact, unless of course he's looking at you down like so. But three, are you going to believe what the information that he's trying to pass on to you? Is it going to be believable? If the person's not confident and trying to sell you some information, or just trying to pass on some relevant information to you, is it going to be believable for you? Most likely not. The person that stands with the confidence to say something as clearly and as best as they can, even though they're going to make some faults like I do all the time, well, not all the time, but plenty of times, it's still going to be believable. Am I believable now, or am I believable now? Yeah? Have a moment to think about that. Now, one of the things of working in any sort of industry is knowing your capabilities. And that is, again, being more aware of who you are, of self-awareness. Now, when you're in that slouching position, obviously you're lessening your capabilities, you're lessening your self-confidence, you're lessening your self-awareness, you're lessening your believability, you're lessening your actual physical mobility, and most likely lessening the oxygen and blood flow to the brain. So your thoughts process could be going more towards negativity, but not wanting to take on larger or bigger challenges. You're not going to upskill all that well because you've got a lack of focus and concentration. So the best way to be aware of your capabilities and know what your capabilities are actually sitting up and standing up tall, always trying to be as strong and as connected into your mind as you can, so that you may be able to understand, yes, I'm not as great as that, but if I want to do that, I need to upskill in that department, okay? That's knowing your capabilities. And you know what? You're only actually kidding yourself, because the old days of when they used to say fake it till you make it, they don't work. You've got to make it, and it's as simple as that. Now, like I said, everybody who understands that we all make mistakes, and yes, we only make mistakes because we're genuinely trying. And if you're not trying, that's your biggest mistake.